Okay, so it's page 17, and we'll go over to page 18 now. So we're basically going through the brachot of the blessings of Shemona Esrei, trying to figure out what's deeper meaning behind them. So one of the questions we were asking last week was, in the second blessing, we go over and over again. Okay, big deal. We don't just mention it once or twice. Mention it 5 times. I think it was about 5 times in one blessing. That about how Hashem is Mechayim Etim. Like, what's the big deal? Why do we? So we spoke about how that reminds us of our purpose in the world, how that's, what everything's about, etc. So the final thing we wanted to speak about is in the text of the blessing, of the last blessing, just so we finish up the last blessing, that the bracha of Mechayim Etim. We said Mechayim Mes. Where is it? There we go. Yeah, we said that it's Rabba Makayim Emunasa L'Shenafa. God kind of keeps his word, and it's what we say in the bracha of Shemona Esrei, right? He keeps his word to those people who sleep. And therefore he's Melech, Memes, Machayim, Mashmiach, Yeshua, he brings back to life. And what does that mean? He keeps his word. So in source number 7 on page 16, right at the end of the page, you can see Rabbi Avigdor Miller observes that God will maintain his faith to resurrect even those whose graves are lost and whose bodies have disintegrated. Some bodies have drowned in the ocean, etc. Nevertheless, God is faithful. He keeps account of every molecule. Can you see this, Charles?
Oh, yes, sir.
Of dust and ashes, and will collect them all despite passage of thousands of years. I.e., you could often say, oh, what do you mean bodies decompose? They go, they disappear. Sometimes you should know they find bodies that they dig up after 300, 400 years, and they're still largely intact. But sometimes they decompose, especially older ones, especially if they were buried in bad condition. So how can you say Hashem's going to resurrect the dead? So he said, no, he will keep his word, even though it doesn't look right to us. And with that, Rabbi, we move on. Yeah.
From a lesson I had many years ago from Rabbi David Rudinsky at Rishalom.
Right.
It seems like he said that the last thing to disintegrate is your coccyx, your tailbone.
Yes.
And that's where everybody will be resurrected from.
Very good. Yeah, there's something
to
do with that.
I don't know. I'm asking.
No, that's true. That is true. And it's something's brought down that if you eat fish 3 times on Shabbos, it's good for it. Dog and that word. I have to check it up again, but there's some connection over there. But but that's true.
Okay. Wow. I mean, that's 40 years ago I've heard that.
I'm impressed. Yeah, and I heard it like probably half a year ago. I still don't remember it. Well done. So now we move on to the next point. Rav Lahoshia. On the next page, top of the next page, page 17, 18. Rav Lahoshia, Hashem is abundant to save. So the Sefer Talalei Oros, quoting the Alkut Katan, he says the following thing. You have it? There you go. Yeah, Rav Lahoshia. He's abundantly able. Hashem can save anyone. What does that mean? You can read the Hebrew if you want, if it's easier for you. Hashem is not like humans, right? Let's just back up a little bit. What's difficult with Rav Lahoshia? Oh, Hashem can save so many people. Like, what does that mean? Rav is an interesting word. What does Rav mean? Rav can mean Rav Avadia Yosef.
But also Harbe.
Nachon. Obviously, the root of the word is Rav or Rav or Harbe or a lot. So it's like a difficult word. We don't just say Moshiach Ma'od. We use this word Rav Lahoshia. Right? According to what we're going to read now, he wants it to mean what when the Anshe Knesset Gdola, when they wrote this down, they meant many, as in like multitude, a lot. I.e., there's a Hashem saves while we're alive, there's after we're alive, so many different things that he does. So let's read it inside. You can read it Hebrew, or we'll read it English. Hashem, if somebody wants to save his fellow from danger, his possibilities are limited. But Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, is many to save. What does it mean? He has many to save. A human rescuer can only find one or two means to accomplish his goal, but options open to the Holy One are unlimited. A fundamental, the emunah that we have, the belief that we have in Hashem, is that He is kol yachol. He can do anything. That means, let's say I see someone drowning, I can save them by jumping in and pulling them, or I can save them by throwing them a rope. But that's it. I have two ways. Hashem has unlimited ways. He can do unlimited amount of things because He's got unlimited amount of potential. So when we talk about Rav L'Hoshia, that's referencing this might of Hashem, that He can save us in so many different ways. So that's one difference between us saving and Hashem saving. Another difference is persistence. If a human rescuer succeeds in saving someone once, what happens if the one he saved gets into the same predicament again? The one who saved him the first time is often unwilling to help him again and again. But Hashem is many to save. Hashem will save us so many times. We often have it, people give charities. So they see a poor person, I'll give you one time, I'll give you another time. That's it. I gave you. I'm not giving you any more. But Hashem will save us again and again and help us again and again with this when a person will. He rescues us repeatedly, persistently, no matter how many times we're in danger, whether it is physical or spiritual danger. The Holy One is always there to be able to save us no matter how many times we fall. Okay? Now the last paragraph, last difference. Va'od basar v'dam. Va'od basar v'dam. So what's the third difference between us and Hashem? Basar v'dam. If many people are in danger, a human rescuer is only able to come to the aid of only one or two of them at a time, either because that is all the power that he has, or because he doesn't want to spread himself so thin. You only have so much ability. And even if he does try to help many, his efforts to help one may come at the help us expense of another. That when we help people, we have to do so within the constraints of our ability. So if we see a boat drowning with 100 people, how many people can we save? Only a few. But Hashem is many. Hashem is Rav L'Hoshia. Hashem is no limitation. For example, Hashem sustains the whole world. All the laws of nature which provide all of our food and all of the fruits that grow all the time and all the wheat and all the produce is all provided by Hashem. Hashem is feeding the whole world at the same time. We can feed one person, two people, maybe three people if you use your feet. But
so we could really say that Rav L'Hoshia has three things here. One, the first one is kind of possibilities of God. The second one is the times that God is doing it, and then the human being that God is saving.
100%, yeah. So the way he's explaining Rav L'Hoshia, many in three different ways. Yeah. Number one, it's many because he can help in many different ways. Number two, it's many because he'll help you many times, over and over again. And number three, it's many is because he can help many people at the same time. So when, again, if you had this intention, every time you read Rav L'Hoshia Shemona Esrei, you'd be there all day. But it's just worth knowing that there's three different thoughts you can have when you read Rav L'Hoshia in three different ways. Hashem is Rav, is many, is different, he can help them. Okay. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we move on to Gvurot Geshamim, which is the next part that we focus on inside of this blessing. This is all this is all within the second bracha of Shemona Esrei. Right? The first bracha was Avot. Let's do that. Abraham and Yitzchak, our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Isaac. And now we move on. We're not move on. We're in the middle of studying the second blessing, which speaks about God's might. When we discuss Hashem's might, then in the winter and Sephardim, even in the summer, focus on Hashem's might in regards to the weather. So we say, currently we say, Mashiv Aruach HaMoreh Geshem. Hashem makes the wind and makes the rain. Okay? And Sephardim say also, Moridatal, very good. Hashem brings down the dew. Okay, so now it's important to realize that we're putting like resurrection of the dead right next to rain. And rain is like, boring for us. Resurrection of the dead is like, wow, we've never even seen it before. So we're going to try and explain why we're putting this all together in the same blessing. So let's start. Says the Gemara. This is a Talmud in Brachot, Lamed Gimel Amid Aleph, 33a. You can read it, the Aramaic. The powers of rain are mentioned in Tchias HaMesim, in the blessing of the resurrection of the dead. That is a Mishnah. Now the Gemara commentates. This is the top of page 22. Top of page 19. The Gemara commentates. Amar Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, why? Resurrection of the dead is as much of a miracle or equal. We're not going to say what that means yet, but it's equal to rain. Rain and therefore it's in resurrection of the dead. This is a very profound message, even without looking at the commentaries. But what I thought when I read this was that this is effectively the fight between the laws of nature and miracles. We all are used to the laws of nature. We're used to gravity, we're used to time, we're used to space, we're used to, the laws of physics. And we take them for granted. We don't look at them as miracles. Rain, we think of it as, okay, yeah, it got hot, the water evaporated, it went up to the clouds, and now it came down, big deal. But what we're saying over here is that just like we all know that resurrection of the dead is like, boom, it's against all the laws of physics, it's a shocking miracle. When we see it, we're going to be blown away. We should be blown away every time we see rain. But we're not. So we put it in the same blessing, in the same bracha, to tell us that for Hashem, what's the difference? Make some rain. Resurrection of the dead, it's all the same. It says in Meiri, one of the Rishonim, in his commentary, source number 2, on page 19. He says, mentioning rain in the blessing of the resurrection was instituted. Why? Because the rains revive the seed and the plants which have dried and dried out. For something dried is called dead in the language of the Talmud. Anything, just like rain resurrects the dead soil and the dead seed and the dead plantations and makes them grow, Hashem resurrecting the dead is just kind of that on a bigger scale, right? Putting life into a dead human is not too different to putting life inside of a dead seed. So therefore, there's actually more than just, okay, they're both miracles for Hashem, but they actually have some kind of thematic connection. There's a connection.
Yeah, Rabbi, I don't remember where in Shemot or Vayikra, it's Moshe is saying to the people, I'm going to bring you to the land that the eye of God is looking at you, and He is the one that brings the rain, not like in Egypt that you have the Nile the whole year. So I think that this hashgacha on the land and the people of Israel, it's like the hashgacha that we studied before about the ability of God to help to everybody and many times.
Very good. Yeah.
So
yeah. It's something that comes directly from Hashem. Yeah, it's out of our control. The Rambam, actually, Maimonides, the Rambam is he says this, that we can control our choice in this world, whether to build, whether to destroy, one thing we don't control, the weather. Some people think we control the weather. Some people think that we control the weather, but we don't control the weather.
Right. Is that what I couldn't hear what Bensie's question was? He was too far away from the mic.
Yeah, no, he was basically quoting the pasuk which says when they were leaving Egypt, Moshe was warning them, when you go into Eretz Yisrael is a place that you don't have the Nile River. You depend on rain, and rain is all Hashem. You can't just you can't expect it. When Hashem decides it rains, especially in hotter countries like Israel, and when Hashem doesn't, when Hashem says it doesn't rain, it doesn't rain. So yeah, he kind of was saying it's something which is like very in Hashem's hands.
I think that this also emphasizes how much God is great, and we are nothing comparing to God, because God can give life. Can we give life? Never.
Yeah.
Actually, to nature and not human being.
Very good. Yeah, that's the next point. We can do lots, but we can't give life. The next point is basically, whenever I feel like every 6 months or a year, you see a headline, and it's like scientists find a planet 3 million light years away, which could potentially have life on it. You see the headline every year. It's the same thing, and what is it? What are the scientists looking for? They're looking for water, or at least a place that the temperature could potentially have water, because without water, there's no life.
Yeah.
So that is what Rabbi Nassim Wise in his book provides more depth to why we're focusing in this bracha where we talk about resurrection of the dead and life and death and how Hashem is mighty. So we talk about rain. Why? Because rain's not just nothing. Without rain, there's no life. We can read it. In a seemingly improbable change of the topic, the Amida inserts into the blessing of Tchiat HaMesim, resurrection of the dead, we put suddenly about Hashem's control of rainfall. We recite this insertion starting on the last day of Sukkot and ending on the first day of Pesach. This encompasses the entire rainy season in the land of Israel. The reason this phrase is inserted in this point is set forth in the Talmud in Tanit. Rabbi Mimran says, a day on which it rains is greater than the day on which the dead will return to life. Tchiat HaMesim is only for the righteous, whereas the rain is for the wicked as well as the righteous. Fascinating. This is a typical analytical mind of the Talmud. It says, okay, Hashem does many, many different things. He resurrects the dead, where he will, when Mashiach comes, and he also causes rain. Which one is a bigger deal? Well, guess what? Resurrection of the dead is very targeted. Only a righteous person will get resurrected, but not an evil person. Whereas rain is for everyone. So rain is a bigger deal, says Rabbi Mimran in Tanis, in the Gemara in Tanis. It's a bigger deal than resurrection of the dead. This interpretation is, yeah?
Wait a minute now. If it's such a big deal, why did it destroy all the life in Noah?
It's, for me, that's a representation of the fact that anything which is good can be used to the exact opposite for bad. So in that instance, Hashem said, the very thing that's giving you life will cause you to be exterminated, to end, and refresh the entire world. It's partly like why we go into a mikvah. You go into a mikvah, you dip yourself inside water, and you come out and you're pure. What kind of spiel is that? And it's just because it represents rebirth. Because as humans, we can't survive in water. We can survive for a little bit in water, but we can't survive. We inherently can't survive in water. Truth is, not many elements can survive in water. Metal, wood, all these things will erode inside of water. So going inside of water represents a little bit of a death and a rebirth. So it's almost like that's what Hashem did to the world. The world was reborn after the Mabul. That's what water was. Yeah.
Also, people are doing things that, like in the case of Nobel, so he creates like
explosive.
The explosive material, and he thought it was a good thing, will bring good things to the people. And then he saw that people are using that for war and to kill it can be used.
It can be used both ways.
The Mabul cleaned the world and revived the purity.
It was essential. It was essential. Yeah. No, 100%. Okay, so this interpretation is in dispute with the interpretation of Rabbi Yosef, who says, in the second paragraph in number 3, who says that they inserted Mash Baruch into blessing about Tchiat HaMesim without providing rain, and because providing rain and reviving the dead have equal weight. So it's fascinating because you have a debate over here inside the Gemara in Tanis whether, in terms of like, if you had to list the order of the best miracles that Hashem performs, where does rain come in? No one says rain is lower than resurrection of the dead. The question is it equal to, or is rain higher? Okay. The Talmud goes further in its assessment of the value of Hashem's gift of rain, comparing it to the gift of giving, to the giving of Torah on Mount Sinai, and even with the act of creation. Why does this natural phenomena stir such awe among the Talmud sages? How could the power to send rain to earth be compared with the power to revive the dead? And he answers very simply, as we mentioned before, without rain there can be no life. Nothing can grow without water. It is such a key ingredient of the creation that the word meaning rain in Hebrew, which is Geshem, shares its root with the word that describes all physicality, Geshmiut. You have a word Geshmiut, which means Mashu physically. You have a word Geshem. What's the connection? Because in Klum, you don't have anything in this world without Geshem. Geshem is such a fundamental. It's כל כך עיקרי לעולם as a חלק מהמילה גשמיות. That's a nice point. Okay, he continues and he says, rain releases, this is number 4, rain releases the life energy hidden in earth. As vital as rain is to survival, however, the Almighty did not implant any natural mechanism in creation by which we can assess rain in a totally predictable way. It's a really fascinating topic. Science can predict everything. When they do scientific experiments, they can predict to the millisecond what's going to happen when. And everything's accurate. We know exactly how long it takes the moon to go around the earth, everything. One thing we don't know, the weather. We do not know. We try, we speculate. If you look at the weather forecast, it says there's a 23% chance of rain. There's a 60% chance of rain. Sometimes there's a 90% chance of rain. We can never know for sure what the weather will be, even if we know for sure it's going to rain, even if we've already started, how much is it going to rain? We don't know. It's crazy to think in a day and age when we have science down to a T, when we have everything amalgamated with numbers and computers and everything's calculated. We have the best of computers. We still can't calculate the weather. We can calculate it better than we used to, which is good. So it's a big help. But Hashem especially kind of puts some magic sauce in the weather. It's always going to stay. Oh, the hurricane went that way. Oh, I don't think I thought it was going to come this way. So that's the idea. That Hashem wants to remind us that because rain is essential to life, it's always going to be a bit of a surprise. When is it coming? Oh, it's starting raining. I didn't expect that. Right. So that's so we remember it comes from Hashem. Okay, all man's acquired agricultural knowledge and effort therefore cannot guarantee the successful production of life-sustaining food. His most basic need is dependent on one strategy alone: prayer. Imagine a person that invests $1 million, buys a massive field, plants the whole field, and guess what? That year there's no rain for 2 months. He wastes all his work. And suddenly he remembers Hashem's in charge. The Torah teaches us. Yeah,
Rabbi, this isn't limited to Judaism.
No, it's all, yeah.
The Native Americans, they always prayed for rain with their shaman.
It's true. Praying for rain is as old as religion itself, and even before. I mean, even in pagan times, the beginning, everybody would pray to their various idols. Because why? Because you realize it's out of your control. Everything else is in my control. If I take a tree and knock it down and build a table, it's all in my control. Unless a house falls on me, I'm gonna build that table. When I have a 99% chance of success, whereas rain is just like, I don't know. Maybe there will be rain in 2 months. Maybe there won't be. It's anybody's guess. Okay. The Torah teaches that this was Hashem's plan from the beginning of time. If you read the beginning of the Torah, it says, now all the trees of the fields were not yet on earth, and all the herbs of the fields have not yet sprouted, for Hashem had not yet sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to work the soil. Rashi explains that Hashem had not sent rain because there was no man to work the soil. What does that mean? That there was no one to pray for it. It was only when Adam arrived on the scene, recognized the need for rain and prayed for it, that the trees and vegetation began to spring forth. In his design of creation, Hashem linked the power of life to rain and rain to prayer. In doing so, he informed us that the power of life and even physical life is not in our hands. Our most basic keys to survival is something that we must acquire from Hashem through prayer. We must pray in order to have the power to live. Thus, rainfall is the animation of that which has no innate life force. As rain infuses a seemingly dead world with a life force, it becomes an everyday, this world mirror of Tzchiat HaMetzim, just as the sages of the Talmud declare. So it's kind of like a mini Tzchiat HaMetzim. It's not mini. That's the point. We learn it's like equal. But that really brings home the message about why it's so important that we talk about rain. It's important to know we're not praying for rain. Even though we only mention this prayer, Mashav Arach Moed Geshem, in the winter, we're not actually praying for rain. We're not asking for rain. We're praising Hashem for being the one that does do that. He makes the wind blow and the rainfall. And again, both of those two things have one thing in common. They're not in our control, and they're very difficult to predict. And we can never predict them with 100% accuracy. Even with all the tech in the world, we can predict a million different things. But we cannot predict with 100% accuracy tornadoes, winds, and rain. Reminds me of the famous joke. You go past. I saw this in Myrtle Beach. I've seen it before as well. You go past a wall and it says, "This stone is the weather forecast." and it's hanging down, and it says, if the stone is wet, then it's raining. If it's flying around, if it's like moving around, then it's windy. And if the stone's not there, then there's a tornado. That's what it feels like, the weather forecast. You know, you'll come on TV and you'll be like, okay, where's the hurricane coming? And they'll tell you 2 seconds before it comes. You know, half an hour before it comes, you'll find out, oh, it went north, it went south. Like, it's so out of our control. We have nothing that can control it. You know, I mean, the idea of nuking the tornadoes has come up, but like, we have no control over the weather, and we just about know in almost like instant right now. Okay, in half an hour, this is where it's going to be. But like, we map it out. We have a general idea, but like, it's so out of our control. It just reminds us that there's a creator and there's a bigger plan.
But that's what the government's trying to do now, Rabbi.
To what? Nuke
They're trying to control the weather.
Control the weather.
I mean, they cannot stop a simple virus. They're going to raise our taxes so they can control the weather to save the world. That's what they're saying. It's the same thing.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
It's not my comment. I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't.
That's an interesting take on it. You should know, I said that from the beginning. I remember when I was a little kid, they put recycling boxes outside our house in Gateshead. And everyone says it was a new thing. It was very, very new, right? I was very young. Recycling wasn't done by many people, if anyone. And they put recycling boxes. I remember thinking, this is gonna become, you know, this is gonna become like almost like too big. And I watched as it's not in America. This doesn't exist in America, but in England, you don't take your trash out every week. They take your trash out every 3 weeks. And we had a family of 16 people. Why? Because they want to force you to recycle. So they have all different recycling bins. And it's not just one recycling bin like over here. There's different colors. There's the blue and there's the green and there's the orange. And there's also the green. There's also the one trash can that you have. But like, they made it into like like, you know, we're going to save the world. You know, I mean, I'm all for recycling. You shouldn't waste for no reason. But like, the idea that we're going to save the world, otherwise our grandchildren are going to die. You know, it's just preposterous. You're dealing with a million years time when the sun will explode. I mean, the whole thing is just, it's nice to do, but you have to remember that underlyingly Hashem controls the world. Okay, so now we move on to part D. We'll do a little bit of this, but it's basically just Machal kol chayim b'chesed. So after Mashiach Baruch Geshem, we say Machal chayim b'chesed. Hashem provides sustenance with kindness. Now, that immediately springs a question: what's so kind about it? Hashem provides sustenance because if you didn't have food, no one would exist, and if no one would exist, there's no purpose in the world. So you could say Hashem provides sustenance because He needs to, not because with kindness. So how do we see that He provides sustenance with kindness? So as you read over here, Hashem not only made the world that provides food for its inhabitants, He even made food in a way that is enjoyable for us. Hashem could have made us like snakes or whatever, like eat dirt. He could have made us eat a package every day. Doesn't taste very good, but it keeps us alive. He didn't do that. Instead, he made burgers and He made hot dogs. He made shawarma. He made falafel. You know, Hashem made delicious food. That shows that He provides sustenance with kindness. Okay.
Even the man that the people eat in the desert tasted good.
Yeah. The man was again. Yeah. Now again, food is something that we need to keep our energy levels and our health. And again, we could have eaten soggy cardboard, and Hashem could have given that the nutrients to keep us alive. But instead, we're not just eating like, you know, bowls of oatmeal every day with the bare minimum nutrition that we need. Hashem wants us to enjoy our food, and He created food not in a way that, oh, okay, I'll keep you alive. He created it in a way that we delight in it, we enjoy it, right? You know, think of Rabbi Mimran once described opening an orange. That's why he says, let's take oranges for example. Rabbi Mimran once described when you peel an orange, there's different sections inside of it. And if you look closely, each of these sections have a thin membrane. Open an orange, you see each one has like a thin membrane inside. When you pull back the membrane inside of this piece of orange, you'll see that there's tiny little sacs of orange juice. That's pretty much what an orange is, right? And you think to yourself, like, Hashem could have made an orange like an apple, like a simple basic fruit. But the detail, there's thousands of little parts inside of every orange and the second you bite into it, they burst open in your mouth, and the flavor comes into you. That's Hashem going out of his way to make candy for us, but not just any candy. It's a beautiful like creation with intent, with detail. So that is what we talk about when we say Hashem sustains us with kindness. He doesn't give us oatmeal. He doesn't give us soggy cardboard. He gives us an orange, a fruit which is made up of 1,000 little bits that you bite it. All those like modern sensations which people have tried to create in foods to make them bestsellers in all the junk that they sell nowadays. Hashem did it healthily inside of an orange. It's an unbelievable thing. So that famous thing, you bite for a burst of flavor. I'm sure you've seen it adverts everywhere. Burst of flavor. That's exactly what that does. It just explodes in your mouth. It's an amazing thing. So Hashem created this ability for us to enjoy food to the next level. And he could have made it rock solid, an orange solid. It would have been nice. It would have been like an apple. But he went to the detail. And every fruit has different texture. They're not all the same. You have bananas and apples and orange, everything. I mean, the details is just unreal. So that's what we mean. Hashem doesn't just keep the world going. Oh, I'll keep you alive because I need some people on my planet. No, I'm going to feed you with kindness. Hashem gives us life with kindness. He goes out of his way to provide for us with kindness.
Yeah, and Krispy Kreme.
And Krispy Kreme. Yeah. So we're going to continue next time and focus on, again, why this blessing, which we started off talking about resurrection of the dead, now we talk about food and Hashem providing for humans. But yeah, it is an important thing and an important reason why we bring this all in the same blessing. So we'll carry on from over here, part E, which focuses on Hashem supporting the fallen, healing the sick, releasing the confined, which is the next part of this bracha. But thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And
very good. Yasher Koach.
Thank you.
It's very interesting.
Thank you.